Hey everyone, in this second post for Psalm 77 in response to Dr. Simkovich's analysis, I'd like to begin by saying that upon first glance from the untrained eye, yes, I agree with you, Dr. Simkovich. It does look like this is two separate psalms glued together. And secondly, that yes, so much is lost in translation of this psalm. And we see this really clearly evidenced, this loss in translation, from the very beginning with the word cry in English, which actually is kol in Hebrew. And we have crash, which is actually kol in Hebrew. So cry and crash or kol in Hebrew become what we normally use in English as voice. So this psalmist is crying or raising their voice to God, but then in the second half of the psalm we see that God's voice is more powerful than human voices. So God can do more to appeal and heed to the cry of the human voice that's presented and heard in part one. And so, what does God do when God heeds and hears the call of this human voice? Well, God remembers God's people. And we hear the psalmist meditating on this in both part one and part two of the psalm with that repeated Hebrew word, zakor. So that's really the key word, and Dr. Simkovich talked about that because what happens is the psalmist remembers what God did for God's people in the Exodus, and that becomes a parallel to creation and the covenant God has with God's people to reinforce for the psalmist that God will answer the prayer, God will listen to the cry of the psalmist. And that really provides deep insight into this psalm, that it doesn't end drearily and in gloom, but God, who answered the cries in the past, will answer the cries now in this very moment for this psalmist. Okay, everyone, thanks for listening and hope you enjoyed.